Wargamer Dave here from miniwargaming.com. Welcome, Wargamers, to the Shrine of Chaos. Today, we have a special guest. Welcome, Wargamers, to Sultan. How are you today?
Hello. I'm good, mate. How are you?
I'm excellent. Now, for those of you who do not know, Sultan is a very good person who likes people. Sultan is a man who is willing to help out when when they seem impossible. He makes them possible. I know this because a good friend of mine, Winter's SEO, he told me what Sultan did, and you know what? I must say, fantastic. That is awesome. Without you during the initial lockdown, there would not be Winter's SEO content. Not the same anyway. You made it so he could do bat reps and a lot of the good stuff that we are so used to seeing from Winters. And thank you for that. As a fan of his channel, I thank you for that. And you were the grease there that was able to make the vehicle continue to run smoothly. But yeah, I asked you on the show because of a very interesting thing that I saw, which I actually shared on Instagram recently, and that was your Blood Angel lists. So for those of you who didn't see that, check that out on Instagram. It's just a picture, really. It's this discussion today will be the details of that. It'll be the details of that list. And hopefully we can come to something new. My goal today is to learn a better way of building a Blood Angel list. And I need your help with that.
My goal today is to make sure that you take that list instead of the World Eaters.
Well, there is a time or two that I like to occasionally unleash the Blood Angels. Otherwise, the default is World Eaters, of course.
Yeah.
And so
they are so choppy. It's amazing. It's if you want to get blood on your face, you got to use the Angels.
Absolutely. I mean, you are a Blood Angel after all, right? It just only makes sense. So, a question for you.
Yeah.
How long have you been playing Blood Angels? Why Blood Angels?
So first half of that is not long, actually. I started when the UK lockdown hit. I had a bunch of Space Marine kits in a cupboard.
Yep.
And I was painting my custom chapter at the time, and I just wasn't really enjoying painting them anymore. And I thought, well, I've got all these Space Marines. I've got to build them and get them out of the way. It's all those, remember the Conquest magazine?
Yeah.
Where they would, it was basically all the kits from that. And I was like, I need to get these guys done, get them done. So I went into the living room to my missus and just said, look, here's a spreadsheet of colors. Mm-hmm. What color should I paint these ones instead of blue? And she just went, I like red and I like white. And I went, I like red too. Let's go with red. And that was it. It was okay. Let's paint them red. And I started, painting Blood Angels, which I knew roughly their lore, but I was like, okay, I'll start painting Blood Angels. And then as I started doing more and more, I started reading more and more and more. And this was only April last year. I finished my first squad in April last year, and I've been reading more and more and more. And I was like, they're amazing. They're so cool. They're just savage, but savage nobility. And I really enjoyed that. So yeah, that's how long, basically just over 15 months, something like that. And I've built up too many. I've built about 12k
in 15 months.
Yeah,
that's
nightmarish.
that's a good thing to have happen in such a short amount of time, I must say. I support this life choice.
Thank you. But yeah, it's they were just originally supposed to be away. I'm gonna build what I've got in my cupboard, have a little Blood Angels army, happy days. And then I started playing with them, and I was like, oh my god, they're beat stick. You get up into someone's face and they just mush what's in the way.
So what did you start with? What was the first grouping, first HQ and units?
So the first HQ was one of the lieutenants with a power sword, one of the Primaris guys.
Okay.
That you got from like the Wake the Dead box, I think it was. It's now like a standalone mini you can get.
Yep.
And I think I just had a core of, a couple of intercessors, a couple of infiltrators actually, which surprise, actually turned out to be pretty good at board control. And just a few random things, like I had a repulsor with all the Dakar guns rather than the heavy guns, things like that. So nothing unified by any stretch. It's just a mix and match what I had. Like I had a land speeder in it for some reason.
Now that's the first non-Primaris thing that you mentioned. Okay, so
it is,
mostly Primaris Marines to start. So
initially, because that's what I had.
For all intents and purposes, vanilla Marines with a Blood Angel twist.
Essentially,
at the beginning.
At the beginning.
At the beginning, okay.
And then one of my friends pointed out, he said, well, they look nice and all, but they're exactly that. They're vanilla Marines that are painted red.
Right.
And I went, oh, okay, right, okay. So I did a challenge for DZ. This is a while back. Did a challenge where I painted 1,000 points of Blood Angels over a week.
Okay.
Because I had a week off, and it was a speed painting challenge. And since then, I've gone back to touch them up because speed painting's never quite as as good as just spending time on it. And I did Sanguinary Guard, Death Company, stuff like that. Getting the actual Blood Angels flavors into it.
Yes.
And then I just realized I really liked jump packs.
Oh,
and now
yes.
I have all the jump packs.
So, do you have Assault Marines?
I don't have Assault Marines. My favorite unit the Blood Angels have isn't even a Blood Angels specific one. It's Vanguard Vets.
Vanguard Vets.
I think they're so cool. They're just awesome. They're Assault Marines on steroids.
Yes.
And I love it.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree. Okay, so what's the loadout then? What's the favored loadout?
The favored, 2 Lightning Claws.
Okay, just
I
dual
know
lightning
they're
claws.
I know they're not as survivable, but they're ultra killy, and because they're Marines, they're not exactly a glassed cannon. They can still survive a lot.
They can.
If you have a librarian nearby with a 5-up invuln bubble, then they're amazing. Send 10 of them in. I mean, 5 of them go in from turn 3 onwards with the Super Doctrine. They've got 32 attacks or something silly, or 31 attacks.
Oh yeah.
At -2, well, it'd be -3 in turn 3, and it's just it doesn't matter how much damage they do or how killy they are. They're just killing everything. Yeah, the Sarge alone has 7 from turn 3.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I'm just counting it out right now because they're vets, right? So, and then your dual lightning claws, and then your shock assault, and then the assault doctrine.
Yeah, so 2 base, 1 for shock assault, 2 for claws, 1 per claw, and then 1 for savage echoes, and that's a regular Marine. And the Sarge will have an extra because he's got a 3rd attack.
Yeah.
All at -3 with +1 to wound and re-rolling all wounds. And if you deep striked him, you can hit on 2s for 1 CP. It's horrifying, absolutely horrifying. And that's 5 guys. And the list I showed you has 15 of them.
And that's +1 to charge too because of Red Thirst.
Yeah, and if you stick a chaplain nearby or Veil of Time on them, then you're basically guaranteeing that charge. It's tip top. I wouldn't use it against people you like. There we go.
So against the Tau, thank you very much. All right, so that's interesting. I have quite a few Vanguard vets downstairs, and Blood Angel Vanguard vets, but I don't field them as much as I should.
I think you should. I think you should. They're cheap as well. 28 points a model, 27 points a model for Twin Lightning Claws. So
it's the claws, huh? It's not the Thunderhammer Storm Shield.
So I only have 1 squad. In the list that was on the Instagram, if the guys go check it, they might see some Vanguard vets with chainswords and shields and Thunderhammers and shields. Now, the chainswords and shields are for points, but the Thunderhammers were because this list has no anti-tank at all.
not to cut you off, but I might have to mention here that Liam says I better not be bringing it to Legends.
I think you should, and then just let me know, when you've killed everyone.
Okay, so, all right, so I lost track. Thunderhammer Storm Shield, yes or no? Do you do it?
So it's a toss-up, really. So it depends, and it depends if you know what kind of list you're going up against. So an infantry list, I wouldn't bring them. But if you're going for all comers, they're a fairly expensive squad, but they're good to have. And if you make them a 10-man squad. So 5 with hammers and shields. The sergeant also has the hammer and shield, and then 5 with chainswords and shields, just as basically defense chaff. You've got invuns across that squad, and then at the very least, you'll make your charge and kill a heavy support choice. So they're kind of a sacrificial unit, quite expensive sacrificial unit, but they will destroy what they hit. So, and if they get hit by Overwatch or shot as you go in, there's a still high chance with 2 wounds apiece, 4 up invuln, and 5 chaff bodies, you should make it in with your hammers, which is the important part. And even then, the chainswords, the sheer pure weight of attacks might get a wound or 2 through.
True.
So I use them as a sacrificial tank killer bomb.
10-man unit.
Yeah, but you could swap them out if you wanted to. You could change their weapons up. You could bring more lightning claws if you wanted to, and just go full weight of attacks with rerolling those wounds. Because the very least, lightning claws, you're going to be winning on 5, no higher than 5s on the charge, rerolling everything. So it's a toss up, and they're cheaper.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So to Legends, I plan on not bringing Blood Angels, just so you know.
Liam's not unhappy.
Because in my mind, okay, so just to segue just for a moment, I'm not a tournament player. Like, I'm not a competitive player at all.
No,
right?
same.
So
yeah.
Okay, so like, I'm gonna go to Legends and have fun, just like goofing off and playing games. Like, If I kill stuff on the back, if I win the tournament, then Corn has a very funny sense of humor and wanted it to happen.
Yeah. There
so
we go.
there it is right there. Am I going to win and destroy and slaughter? Things will undoubtedly die.
Legends is definitely it's got a tournament, but it's an event first and foremost, right? So the tournament's just kind of there.
Yeah.
It'd be a bit mean to bring this list.
Okay, so going back to HQ just for a moment, you told me which HQ you started with. What is your preferred HQ to use?
My preferred HQ, just for any list or this one?
This one, Blood Angel specific, Vanguard Vet specific.
Yeah, Warlord. I've got my custom captain. He's called Rubio, but he's a jump pack classic captain with Teeth of Terror, Storm Shield, and he basically, I put Imperium Sword on him, and this is the part that's optional. I often spend another CP on him. If I know he's going to get stuck in immediately, I put Gift of Foresight on. Reroll a hit, a wound, a save every turn, and that's every turn. So not even battle round, which is awesome. So in the opponent's turn, reroll that save again. It's always great. Or Speed of the Primarch to fight first.
Fight first, yeah.
So that entirely depends what you're going to use him for. He's a great buffing character, but also he's choppy as hell because he'll have 9 attacks on the charge, I think, base, and goes up to 10 from turn 3 with a 2 damage weapon. So against Death Guard, he struggles, but...
Teeth of Terror, what does it do for you again?
Extra 3 attacks, and it's Chainsword with Strength +1, -2, 2 damage.
2 damage, so it's a better Chainsword. It gives you 3 more attacks.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
And then,
you always fight first.
Yeah, and if you put Imperium Sword on him, that's an extra strength, so he's going in at strength 6, which is pretty cool.
So you have Teeth of Terror, and then you have the sword.
Storm Shield. Storm Shield, just to give him a bit of defense, because he is a pretty squishy character, because old style captains only have 5 wounds. So if they get through the shield, he's in trouble.
Hey, if they get through the shield, they deserve to kill him.
They deserve to kill him. Often you'll find it's when he runs in, he murders a squad, and then there's a Baneblade looking at him or something. You know, that's how he dies.
Yeah. Okay. I'm good. You know what? I'm gonna test this out. I'm gonna make a list. Okay. Let's make a list. How about that?
Okay. Let's make a list.
Let's make a list. Okay. So Jump Pack Captain, which I have. Teeth of Terror. That's a relic that goes on a chainsword.
Yeah.
Yes.
Standard Space Marine relic. Yeah.
That's just a thing, or that goes on a chainsword?
It's if he's equipped with a chainsword, he gets it.
Okay, so it must have a chainsword to have it. All right.
Yes, yeah, but it's free. Chainswords are free, so
correct.
No point spent on that.
And then Storm Shield is your suggestion?
Yes, yeah. Okay. So he's a 120-point model.
All right, and that's it. What Warlord trait do you recommend?
I recommend, if you're going to choose just one Warlord trait, Imperium Sword, +1 strength, reroll your charges, and an extra attack. I think it is. Top of my head.
Imperium strength?
Imperium Sword.
Imperium Sword.
Yeah, it's in the standard Space Marine book.
Now, the Teeth of Terror is also standard, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, that's why I wasn't, off the top of my head, familiar with it. Because I'm like, that doesn't sound like a Blood Angel one.
Yeah, giving us the supplement rather, because I've got the old codex, but when they gave us the supplement, which I've got here somewhere, and giving us access to all the standard Space Marine stuff, Blood Angels they went from being top tier to above top tier. They're just having the access to those extra tools that the other Marines already had. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah, that coupled really with their Blood Angel awesomeness makes them really good.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, so that's the jump pack cap. So do you do battalion? Is that what you do?
I do a patrol and a Vanguard detachment. So you pay for what you're bringing in CPs.
Yeah.
But it's worthwhile because it mushes everything.
Except for patrol you don't. But
so you pay 3 CP for the Vanguard, but the patrol's free.
Yeah. Okay, so Vanguard. So in the patrol, you have this captain. You have a troop.
Yeah, 1 troop choice, and I went for the cheapest available Primaris troop choice because they're OBSEC, which is Assault Intercessors, and again, Assault Intercessors perfect for the choppy army. So I stick them the 95 points, no bling on them, backfield, and you can pop transhuman if you need them to hold your home objective.
Okay, so Vanguard. All right, let's get into the nitty-gritties here.
Yeah, I bring 2 HQs in the Vanguard.
2 HQs, all right.
You don't necessarily have to bring both, but I like both because it gives you flexibility. And if I was going to drop either of these things, it would be the Chaplain. But I bring a Chaplain and a Librarian. The Librarian's the important one.
So, 1 second here. Are you telling me your list, or are we creating a new list together?
We can create a new list. I would personally. So if you wanted to create a list, the most streamlined one possible, the librarian's a must-have for the HQ.
You think so?
I think so. Yeah.
Because of the invuln save?
I think it's more for the Veil of Time. Reroll charges and fight first.
Yeah.
Pick a unit, reroll charges, fight first. And I think that's important for just guaranteeing that charge.
Okay.
Because if you're lucky, you could probably get a turn 1 charge off with him. And then Psychic Fortress just as a backup, because things like Sanguinary Guard don't have a save.
So again, these are Space Marine specific things, not Blood Angel specific.
Yeah. Which it took me a while to come to grips with that too, because I kept trying to bring Wings of Sanguinius and stuff, but you honestly just don't need it for this kind of list.
Yeah, I guess that's the tough part, right? Because in my mind, I feel like I'm betraying the Angels if I just go like standard Space Marine stuff and I grab from that.
You could, I suppose you could. You'd lose Veil of Time, which is because you Tome of Malkador, which is the relic you could give for the Librarian. Now you have to choose it from the same tree, the same psychic tree.
Yep.
So you couldn't do 2 Space Marine powers and 1 Blood Angel's power, or vice versa.
Yeah.
Because if you could, you'd take 2 Blood Angel's powers, Quickening Wings, and then take the Veil of Time.
That's right. Because the Quickening gives you what, D3 extra attacks?
Yeah, so it gives the Psyker D3 extra attacks, and Wings is just Wings. It's
but
great.
That's
you
only
lose
the
an extra
Psyker,
12.
though.
Exactly, yeah. So if that case, though, I'd bring a Librarian Dreadnought instead. Because Librarian Dreadnoughts with Wings and Quickening are... I mean, I can't say what I was about to say. They're horrifying. They're horrible. They're absolutely disgusting, swinging in there with their D3+3 attack and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Okay.
So if you had the points to spare, Librarian Dreadnought, just the most killy Librarian in the game, other than maybe Mephiston. But if you want to go cheap, Jump Pack Librarian with Veil of Time and a Force Axe.
Okay, so let's call it that then. Librarian, Jump Pack, Veil of Time, Psychic Fortress.
That's the one. And then I personally chose Force Axe because with the +1 to wound, you don't need all that extra strength the stave gives you, but it gives you a little bit AP. And it's all D3 damage anyway, so...
Yeah.
Axes are good.
Okay, so that's the first HQ. What's the second one that you would recommend?
So again, I think this one's optional, but I personally would take a Chaplain, Jump Pack again. And
you like the speed. I'm getting the sense that you like the speed.
Movement wins games.
True.
But it's that really cool Blood Angels model. He's like sprinting forward with his Crozius above his head. That's an opportunity to use him, I guess, with the red wings and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Him, yeah. Pole dancing, yeah. He.
That was a very poor demonstration of what I actually wanted to convey there.
Dave. Yeah.
Okay, so Chaplain, Jump Pack.
Yeah, Canticle of Hate, which is the normally it'd be +2 to charge, but it would just be +1 because it doesn't stack fully. And then Litany of Hate obviously is base because Litany of Hate rerolling the hits in the fight phase is useful. I would say this guy is, and just a bolt pistol as well, but I would say this guy is just optional. He's great for getting you those charges in if you really need them, or if you're splitting forces on the battlefield. So 1 lot go with the Librarian, 1 lot goes with him. Mm-hmm. But I found in the games I've used, when I've used him in my lists and my games, I found he can sometimes come across as a little bit redundant, but at the end of the day, he's another character buffing your troops. So it's entirely how you want to play with it. But he is useful on his own somewhere.
All right, so we have the HQs. Right now, potentially 3.
Yes.
Points and I guess flavor, tastes permitting. What else do you have in the Vanguard detachment?
Vanguard detachment's where I go big. So I would personally just go for speed above everything, speed and killy, because again, Movement wins games. The fact that you can move 12 inches base with a jump pack, and then if you advance,
+1,
and you get +1 to advance, so you can move a total of 19. And turn 1, when you're using a list like the one I'm going to suggest, you're going to get shot and you're not going to be able to hit back in turn 1. But then turn 2, they're going to wish they'd killed you. So it's all about moving forward, taking objectives. The enemy will then have to push back, otherwise you're on those objectives for turn 2. And if they don't push back, you're still on those objectives. If they do push back, you're then on them. So it's all about getting speed, moving ahead further, which is why assault armies are so good for competitive style games, because they're moving forward. So I go full speed and I take 2 squads of 10 Sanguinary Guard because they're just great base, and if you stick with another Warlord, they're +1 to hit. All with axes, I'd recommend. So if you're going to go Sanguinary Guard, go big. keep them near your warlord, keep them with your jump captain in the center.
You can reroll your hits.
Yeah, reroll your hits, +1 to hit.
Yep.
And they're natural -1 to hit as well themselves because they got the death masks on.
Yep.
And I would equip them all with axes.
So they're okay. So you would do axes.
Yeah, because the AP isn't important in a competitive style game. Because if you're fighting against an army, most armies have invuns these days.
Yep.
So if you're fighting against Deathwing, AP, what's the point of spending the points to take a sword with AP? Well, it's free, but taking the sword with AP but less strength.
So it's damage.
Yeah. So they're all 2 damage, their weapons, but a power fist is -1 to hit.
Yep.
And then a sword is all the AP, but not as much strength. So the axe is the nice middle ground plus strength, but it's not unwieldy. So I personally go with the axes just because no minuses to hit. You're hitting on 2s near your warlord, and you still got +1 to wound. So you're going to hit everything on 2s for the most part.
Now they're +1 because of the Heirs of Azkaban rule?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. They're good to stay with your HQs.
And they also have their their specialized bolters that they come stock, so you don't really replace those.
Yeah, they're assault 2, which is great when you're advancing up the field, and they're -1. They're like basically intercessors bolt rifles, but slightly better.
Yeah, with less range.
3. Yeah. Yes, a little bit less range, but if you're moving up into their face,
then it doesn't matter. Yeah, it's moot at that point. Okay.
Yeah, you're there to spill blood at the end of the day. The guns are just ancillary. So.
Would you put all axes?
I personally would, yeah.
So you do 20 axes. We're talking 20 axes?
20 axes across 2 squads of 10, and then your combat squad to give you that flexibility to move up.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have that many. I don't think I do.
It's difficult. Power fists are also a great option if you know you're going up against if you're expecting to go up against maybe tanks or something, because power fists are at strength 8. But it's all 2 damage at the end of the day. And if you're against Death Guard, it doesn't matter. It's just weight of attacks again.
Exactly, yeah. Death Guard.
But I hate him so much.
You know what's funny? As much as Death Guard is chaos, and I love chaos, and I love playing Death Guard, I think I might actually like playing Blood Angels more than Death Guard.
I definitely think that should be the case. Yeah, I have bad experiences against Death Guard. Not with my Blood Angels, luckily, but with every other army I own. Terrible experiences with them.
Okay, 2 squads of 10 Sanguinary Guard with their axes, 100% axes.
Yeah.
What else would you include here in the event card?
So what I went with, and this is a great one for holding the center, 6 Blade Guard. This is the first Primaris, I think, who are coming up against.
Yes.
So, no, other than the Sultan Intercessors. Yeah, so Blade Guard, because they have that ability for transhuman, they have those 3 wounds, and they've got the storm shield, everything like that. If you choose Oath of Moment as your secondary, stick them in the center to just hold the center field because you get a point every turn, and they're hard to shift, especially if you stick them in cover, because they basically have a 1-up save in cover. So that they're absolutely horrifying if you just stick them in the center. They're a bit like that Deathwing thing where people stick their Deathwing Knights or Terminators in the center. Yep. Just do that with your Blade Guard. But I guarantee anything your Blade Guard hit, while they might not be as durable, they'll kill anything they touch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you kind of have to deal with them too, because it's like...
Exactly, yeah. They're a big threat, just standing in the center. And again, that's where I'd probably put... If you wanted to, put your captain as well. So if you've dealt with the flanks and you just want to move back in, your captain could just go whoop, straight back to the center and buff them.
So Cody Kruger says, and you mentioned this already, but we're just going to say it again, asks, why axes, though?
Why axes, Cody? So Sanguinary Guard have 3 options. They have the sword, axe, and power fist. Power fists are excellent, but they're -1 to hit, and everything in 9th is about weight of attack. So if you're losing hits, you're in trouble. Everything's 2 damage, by the way. The sword is AP -3, which is wonderful, but only +1 strength. And with everything in 9th having a lot of invuln saves, especially in the competitive arena, so if you're fighting Deathwing or Death Guard, there's no point in having that extra AP. So the axes are a great middle ground of +2 strength. Bear in mind, you're also going to have +1 to wound on the charge. And it's also 2 damage and only AP -2, so you don't have to... You basically get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I like that. I like that very much, actually. And especially when they charge, they're pretty much wounding on 2s, unless it gets a vehicle. But other infantry, you're pretty much wounding on 2s.
It's nuts.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so really 6 Blade Guard. That is that it fills the elite slot. Elites.
Another elite slot, yeah. So we've got 3 elite slots taken up there. So we've got 10 Sanguinary Guard, another 10 Sanguinary Guard, and 6 Blade Guard.
Yep.
And then this is entirely based on what kind of loadouts you have for your Vanguards, but I would think Vanguard Veterans are a great way to fill up the rest of the slot. Or you could do 2 squads of 10 Vanguard Veterans and another squad of 6 Blade Guard, depending on the points you have and how you manipulate your points. Because what I did is I had 2 squads of 10 and then a single squad of 5 Vanguard. Because of points and how it reamed out. So when I took a list, it was 10 man blob that I combat squadded of Lightning Claws, a 10-man blob with the with the shields and the Thunderhammers, and then Chainswords for points, but all had shields, and then another 5-man squad of Vanguard, because you're going to be combat squadding everybody apart from hammers and shields anyway. Right. But if you wanted to, you could easily manipulate the points a bit and take, instead of the 5-man Lightning Claws, you could take another 6 Blade Guard or something, because they're only 210 points for the Blade Guard.
Okay, so this sounds like there's a few different variations there, but
this is where it gets a bit like you can basically do what suits you and how you want to play it. But if you put 12 Blade Guard in the center field, that's pretty horrible.
I don't know.
But
if
then
I have
so's
12.
taking, yeah, that's the problem. How many models do we have? But then taking 25 jump pack veterans outside of the Sanguinary Guard is also pretty horrifying. And I personally like the jump pack because it's just flexible. You then have, including the Sanguinary Guard, I have the picture in front of me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, up to 9 jump pack squads just going beep, beep, beep around the field. So if one gets killed, you then have another jump pack squad just come flying in. So I found I had a lot of redundancy, and I could keep a Lightning Claw squad safe at the back of the field while everyone else pushed forward. And then when the other player came back against me, I could then just jump straight back in, because that long movement and big charges that the Angels have.
Okay, so let's go the Vanguard vet route, because I'm digging that. So would you say 25?
It's based on how many points you have available and what you do with the HQs, but 25 is kind of what you could probably fit in those points.
All right, so 25, and then now this is where you would vary it, or would you put all Lightning Claws in them?
This is where you could vary it, because if you've got points spare, you can put more expensive weapons on, but the best weapon, hands down, for pure weight and just usefulness is Lightning Claws. Because hitting with the +1 to wound, you're only ever wounding on 5s on the charge, and you're re-rolling all wounds.
Yeah.
And with those, from turn 3, 31 attacks. From turn 1 and 2, it's 26 attacks.
26, it's still a lot.
Hitting on 3s, if you're near your captain, you're re-rolling 1s, and then you're re-rolling all wounds. It's just horrible.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot.
It is a lot, yeah.
But we like the sound of horrible today, so we're going to write this down.
Yeah.
So Lightning Claws. Let's just, I'm going to go downstairs and see how many I've got.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might have 15 or 20. I don't know about 25.
I personally have 15
Do
with
you?
Lightning Claws.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But 20's, 20's cool.
Oh, that's nuts. I know I for sure also, I have a bunch of like Thunderhammer Storm Shield units that I could throw in there as well. But that's more so like, because I don't have the Lightning Claws, I got to bring those because I don't have another choice.
That's exactly what I did. That's why I went, I'll build some hammers as well, because this army, you might have noticed, there's no gun.
Yeah.
All. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's just getting up in the face.
You got a bolt pistol on the chaplain.
Yeah, there's a singular bolt pistol and some Angelus bolt guns.
You know what? That's why this is resonating so well, because I love Tom, shut up. Because I was just reading the thing. Actually, that's a good question. Have you played AdMech against with this list?
I have not. I've played 2 games with this specific list. One against Winter's tournament level Death Guard list, and once against a tuned Death Watch list. So I haven't played against AdMech, but Death Watch are incredibly shooty as well.
Are those games on DZTV?
The first one is. So the one, so Winters is doing Winter's tournament practice to get used to playing competitive style games.
Yeah.
Blood Angels versus Death Guard came out on a Sunday 2 or 3 weeks back. So that's out and available. People want to go there and watch it.
Yeah.
It was a fun game, and I'm not at all. I know I've just described a really horrible list, but I am not a competitive player. I'm a narrative fluffy bunny. I felt disgusting making this list. I should say that. I've never felt so unclean in my life.
Oh, that's amazing! I love it.
But there was this little voice, this little demonic voice inside of me. It was just like, yes, kill him,
do it,
kill him, because he's used those Death Guard against me so many times, and oh my gosh.
I love it. I love it. So good. I'm excited to go downstairs and like gather this. Okay.
Yeah, I think they'd struggle. They might struggle against Death Wing. You know, something that's just so tough they can't get killed.
What doesn't struggle against Death Wing? For goodness sakes, like, geez. Okay, so here's a question. Yeah. Here's a question for you.
Yeah.
This is essentially your list, right? You told me your list.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's pretend that you had access to every Space Marine model, every Blood Angel model.
Yeah.
What would you create? This could be fluffy. This could be casual. It could be competitive. Whatever type of list you would want to do. What would you create?
I mean, I already have access to a fair few Blood Angels. Fluffy lit. I go fluffy. I'm so lucky to have a Thunderhawk in red. That was I bought off a guy who's a Slayer Sword winner.
Nice.
So I'm incredibly lucky. So I think because I barely ever get a chance to use it, I'd have to do a list involving a Thunderhawk dropping off 30 odd dudes in some kind of battle zone with some kind of jump pack support. So probably Thunderhawk just disgorging Blade Guard veterans because it's cool as hell to just have guys running out with shields. And maybe some. So going fluffy. Thunderhawk, a bunch of Blade Guard inside, just coming storming out, and then a bunch of gunline, either tactical Marines or intercessors behind to give them fire support. You know, actual Space Marine deployment rather than just, hey, we're going to go stab this thing to death. Because otherwise the Thunderhawk's flying in these guys with all its guns, dropping them off so they can stab someone with a sharp stick rather than anything tactical. And then I'd probably chuck in a bunch of... I just love my jump packs, so probably a bunch of jump pack troops like Assault Marines and drop pods and stuff and just go nuts with it. Okay,
so I had a question. As you were telling me the units, there's no vehicles.
No.
How do you deal with shooting and just not being just shot and killed before you get... Like, you are fast, yes, but there's only so much you can withstand, right? Like, how do you deal with that?
Use the terrain. Loads. A good table should have loads of line of sight blocking terrain.
That's fair.
And turn one, use that to your advantage as much as possible, but don't expect to get away scot-free. You're going to get shot. But use the line of sight blocking terrain because the objectives are always evenly placed, right? So the line of sight blocking terrain should, if it's been laid out properly, complement those objectives. So there's no way an AdMech army, for example, can just look at you from one side of the board and go, yeah, I can see your deployment zone. They should be able to see parts of it, but not all of it. So you can use that. So I always deploy conservatively, knowing I can then move 19 inches at max and move up the field.
Do you ever use the Pawn Wings of Fire strat?
I haven't lately, but I have used it in the past, and it's great for that redeployment, keeping safe kind of thing. And if you have the points, if you take Infiltrators, that Phobos redeployment strat that does the same thing, puts them into strat reserves, bring them back on. Great for late game turn scoring. But yeah, it's great to be able to take a unit of 10 Sanguinary Guard, let's say, and just go, not today, and fly off, and then land next turn, and just do an 8-inch charge into somebody and take that objective. It's a very powerful tool.
It's funny because Cody Kruger was literally just asking about keeping stuff in reserve, and you just answered it, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I usually don't. For turn one anyway. Everything on the field gives them... If you leave... It depends on the army, right? But for this specific army, I keep everything on the field because if you take quite a bit off, firstly, you might not make your charges when you land. I know it's all about making charges.
Yep.
And if you move and weather the fire, firstly, there's loads to shoot at, so something will live. Something in your army should live. And in my case, when I fought the Death Watch list, turn one, I was hidden and then moved forward because I got turn one. He then shot me, killed maybe 20% of my forces, but then I had 80% of my forces on the table within 3-inch charge range of everything else by the end. And turn two, I feel really bad about this, and Winter's told me to tell you that this happened, but the Death Watch player didn't get a turn two.
Oh no!
Yeah, It was. I felt horrible because I turned to Winters like, "You told me to bring this list. You said he was bringing it." He's like, "Yeah, I misread the situation." It was a tuned list, but it was nothing on the horror that was brought against him.
Okay, so I'm filming this series of Blood Angels. It's a Blood Angel series where I'm using Blood Angels against the newer codexes.
Yeah.
And so, inevitably, the Blood Angels list needs to be a stronger list to just simply keep up with the new codex strength.
Yeah.
And so, like, this versus Admech, I'm still scared of Admech. This versus Dark Angels, I still don't know if this could beat Dark Angels.
Dark Angels are a bit scary, yeah.
Yeah, even on a weekday, right? Like Drukhari, they got a whole bunch of tricks, and they got speed, which outspeeds me. So
yeah,
that's another one.
Yeah, it's being so careful with your positioning. I think that's the nuance of this army. Once you're in combat, you're in your happy place.
Yes.
You're going to win that combat.
Yeah.
Unless you're against Death Guard, who are stopping you fighting first and stuff. That's horrible.
Yeah.
Like that. What's that dude with the hose? He's just like, you can't fight for some reason. Oh, great. That's when I'd be concerned. In that case, just avoid him.
Just avoid. Stay away.
Just avoid him. But I think against Drukhari, yeah, they're faster than you. But if you get into combat with them,
oh yeah, they're dead for sure.
Likewise, Admech, they can be punchy. Still bet on the Red Boys as soon as you get into combat. You just got to weather that storm, and that's where the Psychic Fortress and using Sanguinary Guard with a 2-up base save and stuff helps.
Another question for you.
Yeah.
No Death Guard. No mention of Death Guard. It's not Death Guard.
A Death Company.
Death Company. Why is that? Preference?
Honestly, I don't know. Death Company are good, but they're quite. I think they're a little bit more. I can't remember the exact reasons, but they're a little bit more expensive than Vanguard vets, and they don't quite have the breadth of variety that you can give to the Vanguard vets in terms of weapons. Because the Death Company, you could take hammers, power fists, and chainswords, basically.
Yep.
Chainswords are fine; they're free, but they're chainswords, so you could bring better. Fists, we've already covered why that might be an issue because you don't get +1 to hit, and it's weight of attacks. Hammers again, that -1 to hit, it's difficult, and they can't. The thing they also lose is they can't fall back, which if you want to move onto an objective and stuff, you lose a tiny bit of flexibility.
Maybe suffering from the Black Rage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, narratively, I'm all about that.
Yeah.
But if you're playing it in a competitive style game, I don't think they're as useful as Vanguard vets. That's not saying they wouldn't be good. I just think Vanguard vets just beat them a tiny, tiny amount because they have that flexibility of being able to, if they want to, jump back, wings of fire, stuff like that.
Interesting. Yeah, that's actually a very good point. Have you ever made a completely Death Company list?
I haven't used one. I've toyed with it though, because Lamarty's with some of the new Primaris goodness and all the jump pack guys would be really cool. And I really like those new fluffy narrative rules for the you can make a lieutenant and a captain Death Company. I think that's really cool. So I've played with it. I haven't actually used it, but I think it's the hours in the day, right? I really want to try it though, because I really want to use some of those new fluffy rules because they just seem narrative as hell.
So, talking about, let's say, the ball predators, you ever use those?
I have not. No, I know they exist and I know what they do, but I haven't used one.
And what are your thoughts on the Whirlwind Tactic, where you have kind of a couple whirlwinds just shooting off?
I think that's a really cool tactic if you're playing if you're playing a game based around that. I think they're cool for suppression fire, getting you to fight first. But then Whirlwind's 130 odd points? That's another squad of Vanguard vets. So
awesome.
Again, for me, it's all. I just went. It's the problem and the blessing and the curse that is competitive play. You have to go one direction and one direction only. Yeah. And it's if you just drill down into a niche, you're going to be rock paper scissors against some people. Like sometimes you're just going to come up against a list like certain Death Guard lists and Deathwing lists where you're going to really struggle. But then there's going to be a majority list you come up against where you're just so focused into getting in their face they can't deal with it. But yeah, Whirlwinds are excellent if you want to do like a more balanced list, I think. Having some heavy support, doing the suppression fire stuff.
So Cody Kruger, when you say you've never heard of Bell Predators, are you being serious? If you are, it is a it's a Blood Angel specific predator that you can get.
Them, and I do know what they do. I just haven't used them. Yeah, they're flamey tanks. They're cool, but they're not very good. Oh, bless them. I feel like they should be better.
Scott Stapley says Sultan versus Dave Batrep.
I have a long way to fly.
I will bring World Eaters. You can bring your Angels, and actually that'd be a good fight, wouldn't it?
That would be a good fight. There'd be no tactics to that, would there? It's like meet in the middle. Yeah, I'll meet you in the middle.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Does it entertain this thought just for a moment? Let's say you have you got your jump. You have all your packed Angels, and I bring Berserkers, of course, because that's what I would bring with Karn.
Of course, yeah.
And let's see, they'd be in Rhinos because that's how they get up the battlefield because they're not as fast.
Yeah.
And so that's basic. There might be some cultists in there as fodder just to kind of soak up some as distraction.
I'll mostly want to ignore them, right? I'll be like, if I go there, I'm tied up. And,
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's that, and there's actually going to be some. Let's say there's some demon engines as well, just to cause trouble, just to
like a Mauler Fiend or something. Yeah.
Yeah, a Mauler Fiend or two. And so, what does that? First off, does that sound fun? Does it sound like it'd be like yes,
that's another full I'm coming at you list, and I'm a fan of that. I like it. Yeah,
they're both similar.
Both just low. Like the Blood Angels are doing the whole graceful jump and land and coming down from the sky, whereas the Berserkers are hanging off the edge of a rhino, listening to heavy metal, swinging their axes. I like it.
Yeah, that would be so much fun. And I think really what would happen is, whoever got the charge would win, right? Per unit anyway, right? Like per unit.
Yeah.
Because how do you deal with that many Berserker attacks with their chain axes?
Yeah, right. It's that double attack, right? Fight again and having the right HQs with them again. I think especially things I'm combat squadding, whatever you hit, you'd kill. So. Yeah. For efficiency, it would have to be like multi-charging. Yeah, that'd be a game of trading, I think. Yep. So you charge a unit of 5, you kill them, but then I'd have another unit hit them next turn.
Yes.
And then you'd have another, and it would just be whoever's left.
So it's time. Okay. So games like that, I really enjoy because it's about timing and it's about the puzzle. Because for that one, you can really see the 3 moves ahead or like the effects of this move affecting these options, and there's a big puzzle. When it comes to like other armies that are like shooting and they just like kind of shoot all the time and it's just like, okay, there's no puzzle. Yeah. It's just, all right, how do I avoid this fire? And then...
Agreed, yeah. It's like when you fight against Tyranids or certain types of Tyranid lists. It's some of the most tactical games I've ever had because if they charge me, I'm dead. If I charge them, they're dead. So it's just a lot of dancing around and trading units.
Yeah.
And it's when the game becomes really balanced because it's just, well, you will kill me and I will kill you. Unlike some armies where, okay, I need to get into combat